Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet, and I am here today with Dr. Joe Whitaker and Kelly Hindson from Crystal Water Experience. How are you doing, ladies?
Very good. Thank you, John. Thanks for having us on.
Hi everyone.
Delighted to have you both with us. And, you know, I was saying earlier that when we first just got chatting before we started recording, there are no coincidences out there. There are synchronicities. And the wonderful Aveen Murray from Northern Ireland actually connected us because there is some pretty special work going on with Joe and Dr. Joe and Kelly because they are putting together workshops, and we're going to go and delve into this and also into crystal water experience and what it is all about. So, ladies, if you want to go through a little bit of background to where this all came from in the first instance, and then we'll build it out from there. So, over to you.
This is where the journey began in my own journey before I met this wonderful lady here. Um, in 2013, I was just kind of in the middle of an ordinary life. My kids were 4 and 6 at the time, very happy. I was running around a Zumba class one day, normal, as I did, very fit, swimming coach and fitness class all the time. And just running around normal, and I just lost the ability to walk all of a sudden. Um, and that just was a massive journey then from being wrongly diagnosed by the NHS for 4 years, three
Wow.
years, 3 years, and lost the ability to walk and was on crutches and wheelchairs for that time. They were treating me with something called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is generally what you get from having vaccinations and an autoimmune response or having the flu. But I kept telling them I've never had anything like that before. And yeah, they were treating me for that. And in the end, I was going blind. All my organs were kind of shutting down and getting really enlarged by different scans I'd had. And I was dying. I was definitely dying. I even said to my mom that I felt like I was dying and they were missing something. And I got referred to have counselling. They were saying you need to deal with your disability. They were giving me this treatment that just didn't suit me, but they just said this is your life now, basically. And in the end, there was a point in, well, I was in Asda actually, and I went completely blind when I went to pick something up, and I was kind of screaming. Um, Someone needs to bring my husband, and then I went into hospital, and I just said, I'm not leaving until you actually find out what's wrong with me. I'm really going, skipping over a lot here,
Wow. Yeah.
but yeah. So then I was in hospital then for 4 to 6 weeks, I think, and they give me every test possible, which was just like torturous, like bone marrow biopsies and um, this thing I had done in my lung, where they took a piece of my lung off to test it, but I was awake for the whole time. It was just horrendous. But they diagnosed me then in the end with a very rare type of blood cancer. So they said the only thing that they could do was to give me high dose chemotherapy and then a bone marrow transplant. But when they tested my bone marrow, actually, my bone marrow was fine. So I became my own donor, which is amazing for the work that I do now because it's all about empowerment and it all comes from the self. So I essentially saved myself in the end. But it was only a bit of a plaster. It wasn't a cure. It was an incurable disease. Um, Only 500 people in the world had ever had this disease. But I had a version of it that no one had ever seen before. So it was kind of like, we'll try this, but it's probably not going to work. Just give you a bit longer. Um, but 8 years on, I'm still here. Learned to walk again using the power of water and the power of the mind, and then started to in the healing journey. Bearing in mind, before all this, I'd never meditated before. I was not
Hmm.
one bit spiritual. I was very kind of allopathic medicine led and doctor led and stuff. Um, Started to feel energy, but panicked at first. I didn't know what it was and went through more testing. So I thought I was getting sick again. Felt like I was being pulled out of my body. And yeah, then all these things started to happen to me and started to get downloaded information of things I never understood, like how energy worked, how quantum physics worked, the power of water, how nature communicates to us, how trees can heal us. I just knew this stuff, and I knew that it worked. And no one could tell me otherwise. Um, and then I created products to basically be able to protect our biofield while we're using our technology. And this idea come to me through I bought some dowsing rods because I saw a lady testing auric fields at a show once. So I brought some and tested them at a festival and realised that when we have our shoes off, our auric field is absolutely ginormous. And we've got our phone in our hand with our shoes off, it's still ginormous. It knocks that technology out, it doesn't matter. But as soon as we put our shoes on, that's it. We basically have no auric field, and especially when we have our phone in our hand, it just disappears. So with all this testing, I became a bit of an unorthodox scientist, and I was doing all these crazy experiments with my family, and they just thought this woman has absolutely lost her mind. But it's just something that I knew, but then I also knew that something was missing as well. I became a healer and did lots of healing modalities, and especially in 2020, and hold healing ceremonies and stuff like that. Tried to get closed down by the police 3 times, but it never worked. Stood my ground. And then I was just doing a meditation this one day and had this urge to pick up a pen. Like I said, there was something missing. I knew that there was something else coming. And I started to do automatic writing, and I never knew what that was until I asked a friend of mine. She was like, yeah, it's a thing. I was like, right. It was just doing lots of symbols and things. And my hand would move by itself. Completely
Wow.
freaked me out. And I practiced over time, and it started to form words. I went into my own past lives, not intentionally. It was just something that came to me. And then I just started to do it on other people, just to see if I could try this new thing I'd found. But the thing is, I never connected to anything. I never connected to guides or angels or anything. This information just come from me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I kind of actually stood back and thought about what I was actually doing, I was unlocking from the transplant that I had, which I essentially saved myself. And when you
Mm-hmm.
have a transplant, because the chemotherapy that they give you is the most strongest they can give you without actually killing you, it gets rid of everything in the body, so like all vaccinations, all everything in the blood. So it resets it back to 0 again.
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
I realized then that I was actually unlocking my own divine blueprint of what I was actually meant to be doing, from birth, basically. Um, so now I go into kind of past lives to see where people's illnesses have started from, where different connections in relationships have started, um, getting down to what they're actually meant to be here to do,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, and not in our office job and doctor and things. It's actually what your soul is here to your actual divine blueprint in organic earth. That's another separate story, but it's what we're actually, so kind of like, for example, a lot of people are connectors, and with connectors we can be connectors in this lifetime. Joe's very much a connector. She will just be like, just connect people like this, like it's so easy. But in other people's lives, which I've gone into, and actually I've never done one on Joe, but I don't think she needs one because we just know. They've kind of been connectors of energy, so that they'll be some kind of plant medicine healer, but they won't need the physical medicine. They'll say connect, like they'll need medicine from, say, a cucumber and a sunflower, and they don't have them physically, so they'll connect to the energy of those medicines, connect them together, and then place them in
Wow.
the energy field of the person. So in every single lifetime they've been a connector, but it's showed up in so many different ways. So that's the level that I get down to. It's not like, oh, am I going to be with my husband and he's cheated on me, and what job am I going to be doing? It's very much soul based stuff. And
Yes.
are you in line with that blueprint, and what do you need to do to get there?
Wow. That
So
is
that's a
rem
bit in the nutshell. And with that automatic writer and all that information, I then brought it into the products because frequencies and things started to come through, and that's what we put into the products now. And this just flows through me all of the time. This kind of coding, this frequency. I can connect to the frequency of pretty much anything, and embed it into matter, and that's what we do with our products. That's in a nutshell.
wow. That's an
Yeah,
impressive
and that's
nutshell.
how
That's
I
what. That's the
met
most
this beautiful
impressive
lady.
nutshell I've ever experienced. That's amazing. You know, and again, it comes down to this thing, and I've talked about this a lot. I've got a fantastic book back on my shelves over there by Robert Schwartz, which is Your Soul's Gift, which talks about life planning, planning your life before you were born, right? We have that blueprint. I've got another friend who is like, he's he looks at mathematical blueprints and kind of helps people work out what their journey is and what to look out for. This all makes so much sense to me, you know, because, but also clearing the deck so that you are on your divine path now, as opposed to, just out there in the normal world where we've been kind of programmed and conditioned to follow a pattern that's been there since we were born, like encouraged through education and everything like that, which kind of takes us away from the real life. And it's remarkable, what you're saying there about the connection to the earth and how powerful that is. And here we are, we're walking around with shoes on. We rarely walk on the earth. We always have our phones with us. We're always tapping into it, particularly the generation that's coming up now. Say my daughter, for instance, who's 26. They've not had phone. They're never not with their devices, right? This is the world they live in, and we know that the world is flooded with electromagnetic frequencies at this point in particular. The 5G, and know how toxic that is on various things, including ourselves. So everything you say to me now is kind of like wonderful. And I love the fact, the dowsing rods, the pendulum, and all this kind of thing. I have dowsing rods. I don't really use them very much. I don't really know how to, but I've got them there ready. But I
I'm
also
now
have the
guilty
pendulum. The
too.
pendulum, the pendulum I use quite regularly, actually, for when I'm getting ideas and I'm thinking, okay, well, is that really my idea? Is that my higher self? Is that, and then I'll kind of put it to the test and ask for three different kind of types of movement to confirm whether it is or it isn't. So I'm familiar with that. But and again, the connected energy, the automatic writing, I think it's such a beautiful thing. And the main thing, I suppose, really is to get out into the world and spread this and to share this so that people also can step into their own power. Because that's kind of what we're trying to do through Elevated Planet is to connect people to people like yourselves who have, a lot to share and a lot that can lift people out of that old programming and conditioning and back into their power.
That's it, and that's exactly what we teach, and it's all about the within. And I was actually had a bit of a revelation when I was coming down. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and she was saying, "Cal, I've just made a connection. When we say working on ourselves, we're actually saying ourselves." I'm like, "God, that's so
Yeah.
true." And I just remembered it as I was coming up, and I was like, "You're absolutely true." It's all from within, and this is how where my like relationship with Joe comes in now is because as I was going through all this journey, I understood about quantum physics on a very base level of what I, needed to know of the work I was doing. Because had so many with I did skip this part, but I like made pendants and things that were helping heal people's cancer, illnesses, all through the technology and the work that I've been doing. So then when I met Joe, she put the science behind it all, and then she comes in with this like amazing big science package, and then between the two of us, it's helped unlock both of our blueprints now, and we come up with all these amazing ideas together, and we just know that it's going to work. And we don't read
Wow.
books or anything. We are our own book. In fact, we are writing a book, aren't we? Um, and yeah, so we're just unlocking things all the time and within other people as well. So this is what we're trying to bring to people, and with our courses that we're doing, we've got one coming in Belfast on the 24th of May, um,
Mhm.
to teach people how to do this. So we realise it's not just an us thing; we can teach people how to do it.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah. No, I think it's wonderful. And to do it in person as well, I think is quite powerful. I mean,
it really
online can work to some degree, and it's kind of like a method that gets you out across a wide audience, but it's getting the right audience at the right time, right? And I think the hands-on kind of like in person is powerful. It's where I want Elevated Planet to go. And the work that you're doing, I mean, this is incredible. I mean, it just, it
Well,
kind of,
Joe is here ready to blow your mind now.
yeah. No,
So yeah,
my
she's
mind is
the
already boggled.
elevator
So
waiting.
it's time for Joe to blow my mind.
She will blow your mind even
Right,
more.
off you go, Joe. You just give me what this is all about.
So I'll do a very, very brief background. My first degree was in genetics and biology, microbiology. My second degree was in oncology. My third degree was actually in genetic vaccines. That's in 2003. I left academia because it's very corrupt. I didn't really understand why at that time, but there was this treadmill and ways of publications and people who got money to fund things that really didn't sit right with me. But I always worked with inventions over that time. I worked in 3D printing and chemistry and all this kind of stuff. And I was living pretty much like a scientific mind. Although I did have a few downloads during that time, it's like I didn't kind of believe in any of this stuff until um, until 2019 and 2020 happened because I knew I knew that it was all nonsense because
Yeah.
I'm a subject matter expert. And actually, those 3 degrees in combination and my experience, I'd be surprised if 50 people in the world have that combination. And that made me think, wow, have I been given this like gift of knowledge for a reason?
Hmm.
So I went down, I was like, well, if this I know can't be true, like masking, all this kind of stuff. I mean, I worked in a lab, right? It's like it was so
Mm.
ridiculous to me that all the stuff that they were saying. So I looked down all the rabbit holes and I was like, wow, right. Pretty much I would say, even at PhD level, 95% of the things that we get taught at school, etc., is nonsense.
Yeah.
And it's literally just because they're just showing you one side of the coin.
Yes.
And you could describe one side of the coin very clearly, and it's all correct. But when you flip it over the other side, it's completely different. And this is exactly what's happened, basically. And science has changed an awful lot in even the last 20 years. So I could see what was happening. And even though this is my discipline, friends and family still went ahead and did what they were going to do because of the media, etc., and the coercion. And I thought, I can either sit here and watch this happen or I can do something about it. And I knew I was like, I'm going to do something about it. So I researched how to detox and it was so confusing. There were so many different things out there. Then eventually I figured out actually detoxing is pretty straightforward. All toxins, and it doesn't matter what you're talking about, whether it's EMF radiation, plastic, or anything, is always positively charged ions. They're all positively charged. So all detox protocols put negatively charged ions into your body. And we
Right.
know that grounding is all about negative charge, etc. Um, so I went through that process myself, just thinking I'd feel a bit healthier. But one day I was at an event and I saw light coming out of a crystal. This is after doing this detox for 3 months. And I said to the lady, wow, how'd you get the light coming out? That's so pretty. Has it got a torch? And she was like, no. And I was like, but I can see a light. Anyway, my friend was there and she's got, extrasensory perception.
Okay.
And I realized what I'd done is I detoxed my pineal gland and detoxed my body. And I'm now able to see more of the electromagnetic light spectrum. So we don't have to call this all woo-woo stuff. This is like literally you have a body, it's supposed to work in a certain way. And when it's blocked or damaged with these positively charged molecules everywhere, it literally stops the flow of the negative ions in you and your biofield. So it doesn't work properly. So if you can sort that out, many things beneficial happen to you. It's all about charge. And then once it's happened, I started downloading many things about the quantum nature of the universe and reality. Obviously, I was born as a scientist for a reason because that's the information I get. And I started just to trust myself. I found like a location in Nottingham, which I say is a pyramid structure, and I'll explain why. I ended up going to Khafra, which we're all hearing about now. I was activated in the sarcophagus of Khafra pyramid. I was supposed to be there. And I was at Bosnia last year. And I just know stuff about how our reality works, what the pyramids are and everything. I just know how it all fits together, and the 5G and all this kind of stuff. And it's just, all this technology and all this stuff. It isn't woo-woo and it's there and it's shadow and it's all this kind of stuff. It's literally quantum physics. We live in in a video game, and you have a choice whether you're just going to be an NPC following the program you were given at birth or throughout your life,
Yes.
or whether you want to actively take part in this game and start creating and doing amazing stuff. And this is what we want to empower people with: how to get all the crap out, how to function fully in your divine blueprint and start playing this game as it's meant to be played.
Oh, she's not finished yet, John.
Do you want me to show you just one quick thing? Because it's something that you mentioned earlier when we were talking about EMF and radiation. And I've just got a little slide. This is a sneak peek. Because as she said, we are going to create an e-learning course. The reason why I ask people to go to the workshops when we can make them, right, is we want to show people how you can measure whether things are in the organic grid or the AI grid. And by the way, there's more than one. There's like a main one, and then there's other grids. And I've just got a little illustration here, a little sneak peek. I want to show this to people. So we have the organic grid of nature. And as Kelly was pointing out earlier, all the information is here.
Okay.
About healing, how our bodies work, and etc. This is an example of an artificial grid of information, right?
Yes.
And so, literally, this artificial grid of information at the moment. Okay, we've got Wi-Fi signals. Let's replace this with a pyramid. Replace this with a pyramid, and out of the pyramid comes information. And by the way, Egypt wasn't just a place, it was an era. That's why the pyramids everywhere. But
Yes.
this is the information people were downloading. So you can imagine in this scenario, the information people are downloading are things like, oh, I am going to invent an app for a phone, whatever. And what we get, all of our thoughts are coming from this artificial grid. In Egypt times, they had different information. It was still a grid. It's still an artificial grid, everybody. That's why Atlantis and Egypt is 4D. This is the Gaia grid, right?
Yeah.
And this is where whatever the consciousness, we live in harmony with Gaia, and we're supposed to be all acting with that. However, with any of these synthetic grids, and there have been many over the years, if we don't tune into the right grid, we're not going wherever Gaia is going, and very powerful conscious being. And if you don't follow this, you're going to get lost. You're going to get lost. And that's literally what's happening. People are being programmed. And what I say is, the first rule of Inventor Club, you didn't invent it.
Yeah.
You downloaded it, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
from which grid?
Which grid?
Exactly.
And this is what we're teaching people to do, is there are lots of deceptive grids out there related to very many things, including like in the spiritual community, connecting to various beings. You can do that. They've got information. I'm not saying they haven't got information. I'm not saying they've got power. But the divine grid, your blueprint and everything you need is in the organic grid. And if you're not careful, you are connecting to information that's not there for your higher good, because these other grids are harvesting your energy. They are giving you information, taking away your energy, because they are not an infinite source of power, and it is finite. So they've got to get their energy from somewhere. Whereas the organic grid is plugged into the creator grid and is infinite. And so this is the sort of thing we're trying to teach people to do, that actually your real power, your infinite power, is in the divine organic grid, as we call it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to have to put a warning on this to tell people to strap on their cranial retention helmets before they start to listen. Because it's a hell of a job having to clean up the room after the mind has been blown again. But it's interesting.
And this is just a minuscule bit of what we teach. This is just
exactly. Those cranial retention helmets will need to be supercharged.
Exactly.
On the organic grid, of course.
Stockpile them.
But you know, even like so yesterday we did our live show, and Jolie, my partner in crime, as it were, in Elevator Planet, who does all our guided meditations and visualizations, she talked about this very thing on the show, talked about tapping into, you know, what was effectively the organic grid and about the vampiric energy that is out there sucking your energy and how to call your energy back. So it's nice to see how aligned we
Yeah.
are. You're adding new layers of understanding for me here, but it all makes sense, you know. And the way that that graphic is it demonstrates it is very clear. And that to me is just like, yeah, okay, yeah, now that really works for me because now I understand the difference between the two. And I know that one of the things I definitely want to do is one of your courses, right?
Definitely.
Online, yeah, absolutely. But you know, when you're doing something in
In
the
person.
UK,
Yeah.
I want to be part of it because you know this is a message that is so important and brings because we're all about bringing people back into their power. You know, stepping back into the power as divine creator beings that we are. But you can't do that, as you say, when you're connected to the AI grid, which we're encouraged into.
Yeah, and can I just say this is another bit of a mind-blowing thing, which will actually go into what we've just been talking about. So we're all in the spiritual community, on about manifesting, manifest this, manifest that. Great, think about. As soon as we put our idea to the connotation of manifest, if you break down the word, because everything is word magic, if you break it down, man, I, feast. Okay.
Mm,
So
okay.
with that word, it has it's a frequency. So
Mm,
that word has come from the non-organic grid. So what the non-organic grid can't do is create. So what that's doing is stealing our creativity by stealing it with the word through a frequency of man I feast Asian.
wow.
So when myself and Joe, and this is not from books, this is just from pure thinking, downloading, etc. So when myself and Joe are doing things now, we are creating. We're not manifesting because we're not giving our creativity to the man I feast frequency. Does that make
Mm,
sense?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. No, and again, it's very enlightening to kind of, and I know, I mean, everything does come down to frequency. Yeah, and one of the things that again I mentioned on the show yesterday was kind of going back to the time when the Rife machine was created back in 1923. That was out there providing opposing frequencies to the nature of the cancer or whatever to cancel it out. And of course, that got squashed some 102 years ago that we were talking about that and getting excited. It never happened, right? Like free energy never happened. It's all suppressed information.
Mhm.
But now is the time of revelation. Now is the time when we're allowed, because we won't be stopped, right? Because we are heading into that higher frequency energy, which those lower energies that try to suppress everything cannot block that. It's beyond where they are. And that is the joy of this being on the planet right now with the opportunity to spread fantastic information like this.
Thank you. And it's just, we know that we're working with many other people who have collected information from the organic grid, basically. And so we're sharing what we know. And just to explain just a little bit about what you said about harvesting energy, it's all about charge. All the products, and like, let's say I've got this cup in front of me, right? Although
Mhm.
it looks like a cup and it's got a drink in it, I don't know the charge of this. You can't tell by looking at it, but you can measure it. And anything with a positive charge is negative for you, right? They flip the words. You
Mm.
want negatively charged anything.
Yeah.
And so what our course is really helpful for us because we can then explain to people if what they're doing is going to be they're good for them or not. So
Mm.
people say to us, I've bought this pendant, somebody told them it's protective, is it? Or I've got this book, it's got this knowledge in, it was written by so and so, is it good? I'm like, I don't know. Let's measure it. What grid is it connected to?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And when you douse it with that intention, when it goes clockwise, it's negatively charged and will
Hmm.
be in harmony with you. When it's goes anti-clockwise and it is positively charged, it belongs to the AI matrix grid. And you
Wow.
can then start, right, you can then start going, I'm not going to mess with that. Then the other thing that we teach is, let's say you have something and it's positively charged, it belongs to the AI grid. All food in supermarket, by the way, is positively charged. We'll save you the bother of going to find this out. We actually demonstrate in the class, this is why live is brilliant, that you can take something that is connected to the AI matrix grid and you can flip it. You can flip it, bring it back to the organic. You can bring that charge back. And the food tastes different. The experience is different. You can then do this on a much bigger scale. So there are books out there that are not for our highest good that people are reading, just thinking, oh, I'm just reading a book about, what is it, so and so and so and so. And I'm like, why would you read a book about him? You know who he is. Oh, I'm just interested. I'm like, you are connecting your energy to him. This is a spell. You're
Right.
connected it. And you can disconnect him because you can disconnect that book.
But it won't be just the book.
But
It'll be the whole book of every single book that's ever been printed.
Exactly. Wow. And there are places, this is the grid work bit, that have been deliberately set up as energy harvesting points. People can probably guess what they are, and this is probably a whole different talk. But we go around and we are shutting down the AI matrix grid. We're flipping it back to the organic, and we've got grid workers that we work with on that. And if anybody wants to know any more, let us know. But we do all of that through water, because that is the fundamental building block, the software program that the whole reality works on. And this fantastic lady has been given the codes to be able to shut down the grid, to be able to bring healing frequencies in and operate in our reality. And we are using them to benefit mankind on a much, much bigger level.
Wow.
And those are the frequencies that our products have in. We've actually designed stickers, essentially, with frequencies embedded in that will have pain cancellation frequencies in. This is just on the pain relief part of it. That you spray the water on wherever you've got the pain, and the pain will go 90% of the time by just using water. And you don't need to buy the water from us. You buy the sticker, and then you keep topping up the water forever.
It's really interesting. Really interesting. I mean, I know that from the day you sent me the first email was the day when I was just awaiting arrival of my structured water wand. Now, again, the video is amazing, and I can't, but it helped me to understand exactly what you're talking about. You know, I will be going to check just how, that is kind of working. I believe it is, because it has this the mother water kind of thing, as they call it, which is the ultimate structured water surrounded in a quartz crystal wand, which amplifies that energy so that as you kind of stir it in water, like normal, say, spring water, because of its properties, that those properties then expand out into the rest of the water. Now, again, that's something that I took on board and learned, and I've been using it. It's literally only been a couple of weeks. I like it, but again, given what you say, I will be checking everything, right? Because I just want to make sure that these things have come from the right grid.
From the right grid, because the technology is the same. It depends on how you use the grid. So in our course, we teach why quartz crystals and water talk to each other. All crystals, it doesn't matter if you're talking about aventurine or whatever, is quartz, but then they've just got minerals in. All of these ancient sites all have granite, which has got quartz crystal in, and water. And there's a reason. They're both on the same bandwidth, so they both talk to each other. Now, we operate also on that bandwidth, and that bandwidth is very much then influenced as well by you. So when we go into a crystal shop, we will get crystals, but we won't just go, oh, this is aventurine, it's for this, and this. It's not. The crystal's been programmed. But with what? Just because it's green and somebody said in a book it's for this. I mean, why in this day and age we just believe in this stuff? We have to program them they'll be operating on a particular frequency. That's why it's got color's frequency. But the information needs to come from the organic grid, and that is now being rectified, but it's most certainly being infiltrated, and because the controllers know exactly what they're doing. And so
Yes.
we have to then not take these things with like we read a book. We have to start measuring this stuff, really understanding how it works, and be very empowered to know that if it isn't doing what we can do it, we can switch it.
Yes. Yes. And that's one of the things I always understood, like with crystals, that you do have to program them, meditate on them, put your own energy into this, from a high frequency perspective, rather than just, assume that because you bought it from somewhere, that's going to carry the properties.
We also go on a much deeper level than that, actually, because they've. So what I found in the writing that I've done is that the powers that be back in the day, I'm talking like millions of years ago, because AI technology has been around for that long.
Oh, for sure.
They actually put the frequencies into entire mountains where crystals are, knowing full well that people like us will go into a crystal shop one day and buy these crystals that will harvest our energy, harvest the energy in the house, etc., etc. So you have to actually take them out of the non-organic grid by actually saying those words, because it's kind of like a bit of a spell breaker. So we can put our intention in as much as we like, but then ultimately we'll still be going back to the AI grid and then harvesting our intention to its own grid. So we have to be able to take it out of the AI grid, and that's where it will stay. It won't be able to go back. And I've tested this on my own crystals at home by just putting my intention in and then taking what in with my intention and taking it out the AI grid, it'll always stay. But just my intention alone, it will eventually go back. And you can test it. That's what I mean. You can measure these things.
Awareness is
Okay.
key. Just know that, just have the idea that everything that you're interacting with, it belongs to the AI matrix grid, and tell it no.
Yeah.
You're not operating in my biofield. You're not operating in my DNA. You're not operating anything around here, because you can flip that. And actually, our products as well, just to go on a little tangent, as well as protecting people's biofields, which we prove in the videos. So we also bring people back to the organic grid, just automatically, just by having those products. So you're probably seeing children and they're on the phone and you're calling them for dinner. Fred. They feel disconnected from you, right? Because they are, because they're in a different grid. And when you start bringing them back into the organic grid, we're not programming them with anything. We're just literally grounding them without getting their feet wet, putting them in nature so that they can download your source code information rather than anything else. And what we're finding is people that are starting to use our technology not only are feeling a lot better and less drained and snacking because I don't know why I'm always hungry in the afternoon. You're being drained, you're half being harvested, but also they're starting to wake up. And we've had like my parents, and I don't know if I'll ever get to see this video, very much like addicted to television and injections and things like this. After putting the devices on the phone, which they were kind of happy to accept. I mean, it's only a sticker.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
only a
Yeah.
sticker.
Yeah.
After like a couple of weeks,
Love that.
they started to change their attitude to all things. By 8 weeks, they were telling me that, oh, we don't listen to the radio anymore, we don't listen to the television anymore, and we're we're going to cancel our Sky subscription. And it was like this magical turnaround because they had chance to think, just like that video I've just showed you, and get the true information rather than what they were connecting to on a daily basis. And this is where our courses are really important, because energy workers need to understand that whether they're working with herbalism or Reiki or anything, as soon as your person goes and puts on their device, all the energy you've just fed them is now being harvested.
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
this is where we want to send this message on. And even more, we've been in like places, and it's because people don't know, right? And we want to share it desperately. In group healing circles, everybody's around there. Somebody's got a mobile phone on or got one of these smartwatches or everything. All the energy is being harvested through that portal. Just imagine it like a portal. But if you put the protection on, or put the codes in your biofield, you put the protection on, then That's it. Doesn't go anywhere. This is why, like, sound baths and sound healers, right? It lasts like for a day or two. Someone goes home, they feel nice, go to bed, touch the mobile phone, wake up the next day. It's really nice last night. Well, it should resonate with you for days, but it doesn't, because it's being harvested. So it's really important to get this information out there. Our products protect you, thanks to this very clever lady. She had to survive death. You don't have to. All you have to do is get a sticker. And then if you want to learn how to do this yourself, come on the course, because this is more than just a quick conversation. That's why.
For sure. Yeah. So again, tell me the date of your course over in Belfast.
This is and everything's always bubbling about it, of course. You can tell from me and Kelly, we're very high fiber. So
Yeah.
it's like crystal water experience, and then we've got the events that tells you about the different trainings we've got. But this is the one in Belfast. We call it Fundamental Skills of Water Consciousness, the Divine Blueprint for Life Force Energy. This is all the backdrop you need, but we do magic in here. We do magic together. You'll be left. By the time you leave this course, you'll be left a different person. You'll look at life very differently, but you'll feel very empowered. We have people leaving our course, going around supermarkets, flipping the energy, knowing that the people then eating the food are going to be benefited. So if you want to go to have a look, let me just go through the different things we've got. We talk about how water unlocks your soul blueprint. We talk about the cleanliness of water. Like, too many people in the spiritual community haven't figured out yet that the structure of your water, which means, by the way, all structure is water means is the charge of your water. It has to be negatively charged, otherwise it doesn't do anything. So we go into all that. We go into, how you then can use water for all of these things, and how actually it can harvest your life force energy. But we do demonstrations as well, because we don't want people just to believe us. The age of believing is over. You have to know stuff. We do dowsing for soul energy, how you use crystals and water for soul activation. Don't get caught in the trap of just like reading a book and thinking it'll do it. How to heal, like step into your whole purpose, etc., etc. And then people come. We put a nice frequency in, which actually deactivates AI grid, any AI grid attachments that you have in your body. We give people that to go away with. So you won't find this workshop anywhere.
No,
and
it will not.
And
everyone needs to know this. That's the thing. It's so imperative and so important to humanity for people to know this. It's like we can't scream it loud enough from the rooftops, honestly.
I think it's amazing. And, as soon as I know I can't do the 24th of May over in Belfast, but I know that once you got your other dates in there, I'm going to be there as soon as I can make it. I'm going to be there on that course. And I would love to, do more work with you and, on the Elevated Planet side as well, because your message is so incredible. It's to me, this is what this era is all about. This is the era of enlightenment. This is the time when these things are allowed to come to the surface again, because we're going through something that's at very high frequency. The controllers, the puppet masters, can no longer block this. We're no longer going to be burnt at the stake, as we would have been in centuries past. This is now an opportunity to take back our power for humanity, to start to, understand how magnificent we truly are.
Beautiful. And we had a really lovely confirmation from Kerry yesterday. So we've been working on using the brilliant codes Kelly's brought down to basically cancellation frequencies, interference frequencies for the AI matrix grid. I knew how the grid worked, because that was my download. Kelly had the codes, and we've got a group of people literally, this is our intention. We are bringing down the AI matrix grid. Yesterday, Kerry Kay said, and we haven't met Kerry, and we'd love to meet her, actually. She's very much on our page. And she was like, the Annunaki are abandoning the AI matrix grid. And we were like, yeah, no, well, we're on it. Yeah, we're on it. And there's going to be a group of some people somewhere else. But this isn't technically very difficult how to do. What Kelly does is bring the codes down. What we do is bring the water with the codes into the places, and we shut it down like that.
Wow.
And just to give an example how powerful these codes are, Joe mentioned that we've got like a group of grid workers in a WhatsApp group that we work with, and they're all over the world, and they use the water, and we can go through. Well, we'd have to do another show with you to tell you all this, but we're able to put frequency into water to then transport it over the world from screen to screen, basically. So they have the codes in the water as well. So this lady went to a river somewhere up north, can't remember what river it was, and she doused the river and it was going anti-clockwise. So the river was being harvested for its energy back into the IA grid and into us. So she put 2 drops of the water, the coded water, upstream and did the test after, and it went massive anti-clockwise spin.
Clockwise spin.
Clockwise spin. No, sorry, clockwise spin, not anti-clockwise
Clockwise,
spin.
yeah. And you know what? That's something that
That's
I'd
2
heard.
drops the entire river.
This is something I'd heard as well about the fact that this is turning all the water in the world coherent again. You start upstream, right? And you allow that because the water interacts, the molecular structure of the water interacts with the most powerful element. And once that most powerful element is the mother water, is the structured water, then it just spreads. That's the whole point of it, right? So you start off up at the top and you allow that then to work its way down into the ocean. It all spreads out. And I heard that using structured water and coherent water in agriculture is enormously powerful.
Oh, wow. So we've done experiments as well, which we're going to be repeating, etc. But they're on our website, where we have taken we've taken actually structured water, so it's got the right charge, and then we've taken tap water. But one of them has got Kelly's codes in, and one of them doesn't. They grow, the seeds germinate much faster and much more vigorously. So basically, when you're putting the right charge of water, it's in the organic grid, which then helps them transfer. But there's something magical about Kelly's codes that amplifies the frequencies more, basically. This is where we're going. And this is where we're going to be bringing this. There's so many different directions for us to bring this technology, such as med beds. And this is something we're going to be revealing to humankind. That is like, med beds aren't going to be these fancy switched on devices, right? They're all going to be organic. And we're going to be revealing to people how to build these organic med beds. And this is going to come hopefully by the summer. We're working on how to do this. It's not as difficult as everyone's telling us. We don't have to wait for Donald Trump. Any of us could do it now. We just got to get on with it.
Yes.
We are the power.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And this is why I'm so excited about being alive right now on the planet. You know, what a joy it is to be here, because this is a time of revelation, and this is a time when we step back into our power and we start to spread information like you ladies have tapped into. And, you know, this is part of your divine blueprint, clearly, to get out there and to, you know, and all the things that you went through, Kelly, right? That was part of your blueprint as well.
That's it.
It's all part of this is, and this is the thing that amazed me, because I've interviewed a lot of people that have been through some pretty awful things, you know, but you usually find that there is a very good reason why that had to happen. And it might have been because they're a healer, but then they end up working with people who go through the same traumas that they went through. But because they can now empathize, they can now they've been there, they've felt it, and they can heal because they've been through that and come out the other side and understand what it takes. So,
Just
wow,
get a choice of what you're going to do with this now. Are you going to evolve, or are you going to repeat? And
exactly,
that's to
exactly.
evolve.
And this is one of the things that I always say, and you know, I always say that, you know, it's up to our audience individually to decide. You know, we are all, you know, individuated expressions of a divine consciousness, and we're all on individuated journeys. There are those out there in the world today who will always stay within a 3D matrix for now because it's not their time. And I honor that. You know, that is a choice that they can make, because they can't take the leap of faith to say that their entire programming through life has been false, right? It's a pretty big ask, right? Now, And if I flip my clock back sort of like 7 years, to me, this would have been woo-woo nonsense, right?
Mhm.
So if I'd never had my epiphany, I would have been on that side.
Yeah.
So I completely respect the fact that a lot of people don't get this. But I also know that the world around us is triggering people left, right, and center now to step into their power, to get spiritually curious. If we're going to be if they get spiritually curious, we want them to be able to have the tools that enable them to follow the path to a fulfillment that makes them realize that they too are, divine creator beings who can, once they've stepped into their power, are limitless, you know?
Exactly.
That's so beautifully put. And
Mhm.
I mean, part of our knowing is that we're going to be supporting as many souls as we can to make this transition. That, my full belief is that people have been poisoned and tricked. They wouldn't really choose to go through everything because of
Exactly.
these matrix grids. It's literally been an imprisonment camp.
Yeah.
So if we can get this information out either by the grid work that we do, which is the good of humanity, or through our business side of things, the more people that we can get on board, so that they've got the right information, the better. And that's the more of us, actually, for a selfish reason, the more people connected to the organic grid and the fewer to the AI grid, the faster this is going to happen.
Yeah. And the
And the
more
more
fun it will be.
and the more coherent it is. Yeah, it's like we don't want to be sitting there arguing with people about whether this stuff is true. We all just want a beautiful,
That's it.
wonderful 5D and experience.
Yeah. Well, you've got a new disciple over here right now.
Thanks, John.
But yeah, I'm just very, very grateful. And I think what we'll do for now is we'll wrap up this
Mhm.
interview because this will be followed by sequels, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
the way we've got to go at this. And I'm going to put all the links down in the comments down below about, how to access your work, how to get in touch, as well as coming through Elevated Planet. And anybody who got any questions, you can always contact me, John Drew at elevatedplanet.life, or contact us through the website, which is elevatedplanet.life/contact, and that gets you through to us as well. But certainly you'll have the links to get through to Joe and to Kelly as well. So yeah, let's get on this journey and get our pendulum swinging in a clockwise direction.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, John. Thank
Thank
you for
you,
having us
John.
on, and thank you, everybody.
Been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, and thank you very much again to Aveen Murray over in Northern Ireland for making this introduction, because I think that we have a long road ahead of us, which is going to be fantastic. So
Amazing. Thank
anyway,
you. Thank you, Avin.
take care. And thanks
See you.
everybody in the Elevated Planet community who watches this. And please don't hesitate to reach out with your comments. Anyway, lots of love, everybody. And
Bye.
to Kelly and Joe, thank you so much.